I want to be an entrepreneur. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do the cool stuff, and I want the Lambos and all that. And I want like the freedom of like time freedom and all that. Man, let's just not waste time here discussing this thing, who owns what, whatever. Let's just build something meaningful and then we can discuss. Why I'm doing like a fully remote team is because but what's going to be really hard is the values. Like that's what I'm looking for. Okay, like 5 years later, you're in the same position, right? So when you've got like a deadline in like 4 days, the person's burning out and being able to be like, hey, don't worry, just take a rest. Doesn't matter if we miss this deadline, just take a rest. Like you're more important than the deadline, right?
Talk about how important it is to prioritize your team's well-being over, let's say, delivering results for your client, which I think is so key because
what are you willing to sacrifice to get that? And then just go for it and not look at other people's, right? Like once you know what must be done, the more you delay it, the more it's hurting the business.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Ops Talk. I am your host, Martin, and today I have the pleasure of hosting Oriol Serra. Oriol is the founder of Conversion Architect, a consulting agency that helps businesses get rid of manual tasks in their revenue teams. They've worked with multiple 5 million plus ARR companies, saving them over 400K per year through their automations. And Oriol has also coached and built multiple in-house remote teams of 8 plus members with awesome results. So today's is going to be a juicy one with a lot of value. Let's dive in. Let's talk operations. Oriol, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, man. Thank you. And nice to be here and talking with you for like half an hour or an hour or as long as we take today.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Thanks for making the time. And so before we jump into, the fun stories about hiring and firing and building teams and all the struggles that come with being a founder and running operations, tell us a little bit more about how you ended up doing what you do today with Conversion Architects.
Yeah, sure, man. So a lot of people actually ask me this question. And for me, it's not as much as, I wanted to do that and I just went, like I went chasing something. It's more about I was running away from something. I don't know how healthy that is. So I would need to ask my psychologist. But it was never about, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do the cool stuff, and I want the Lambos and all that. And I want like the freedom of like time freedom and all that. To me, it was, I'm running away from what I hate, what is giving me constant like panic attacks, daily anxiety, feeling miserable, feeling like really, really bad every single day. So it's not like a nice, beautiful story for me. It was like a really hard story of working in an office in London, really bad weather, being there for like 5+ years at the time. I'm hating every day of it. I don't want to be there anymore. I experienced like the uni days in London, which I loved, but then, the work days, like the work kind of life in London, I absolutely hated. I kind of made it at the time where I was sitting in an office in Canary Wharf. I was managing a team there and people would be like, oh, wow, that's amazing, right? And I felt really bad and really empty inside. And I was like, there's got to be something else. Like that cannot be it. So the only reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now, why I'm doing like a fully remote team, and why I'm in Barcelona again, and I'm super happy, is because I kind of exited that life. I wasn't looking for what I'm doing now specifically. I was like, that's not it. So, it was more of a cancellation thing, right? Like trying to not look the things that I didn't like. I found what I'm doing today, basically. So long story short, that's how I got here.
Hey man, I think you're not alone with that. I think a lot of founders can relate, including myself. Like I've also been in the situation where, of course, there's like a carrot of being an entrepreneur, and then there's also a stick, Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about how long you've been running the Conversion Architect and what that journey has been like when you saw the opportunity in the market and how you went about setting up the business.
Yeah, for sure, man. So before doing this, so just to give you some context, I was working and living in London, and then I knew I had to leave that city. I was like, I need to go back to Barcelona to figure my stuff out. So someone contacted me from Spain that we're starting a company. They were starting a consulting company in Spain, like working with like startups. And that person said, hey, do you want to be my first consultant? And I said, yeah, why not, right? I'm going to get paid. It's another gig. Maybe like it can help me, move back to Barcelona now because this is going to be fully remote. I said, yes. And I realized that person didn't have any team. Like they had everything, prepared. They were literally launching the company. They didn't even have like the company set up, like registered in Spain. So I was like, oh, that's amazing. It's a perfect opportunity for me. I can, be the first employee, ideally be the co-founder over the long term and like kill it with this guy, right? So we had this conversation, kind of we agreed, and then I became quote unquote co-founder without having any shares yet. And I did a ton of clients. Then I helped a lot of startups. I reaffirmed the idea because I already knew that I love teaching and I love helping people, especially, people in C-levels or like founders, in like smaller companies and all that. People are like in decision-making positions. I love that because I know that the good people, obviously there's good and bad people everywhere, but the good people really, really deeply care about what their decisions, right? Like doing the things right, making sure their employees are, growing and happy and all that, right? And their companies is growing as well. So I did that for a while. We grew that team to like 8 people and like 40 clients in the first year, which was insane. Like, man, I had a week where we had like 4 new clients starting and I had no materials, like nothing. And I was like, oh my God. So I had to build like the consultancy materials like the night before actually like going live with the clients and then not having anything else. So if they asked me to share something that was past like today's lesson, because at the time it was just like lessons, like consultancy is more of like a training kind of thing, I couldn't deliver because I didn't have it. So that was a bit stressful, but it was super cool. And then that allowed me to think, oh wow, there's, something here that I can do by myself, maybe in the future, or like with this person now that I'm like doing this. And then we had a bit of a disagreement in what should happen with the company, basically. Essentially, the model they wanted to do in that company was to do kind of a lead gen service, but instead of using Clay and automation, all the things that, were already like out there like a few years ago, they wanted to do it with like SDR. And I was like, that's mental. Like the numbers just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
It was like making like 300K in revenue by having like a 30 people team. Like it was just insane. The numbers didn't make sense. And I was like, and I've managed teams before. I know how stressful it is. I've managed like 8 people teams and that was stressful. Imagine 30 people. That's nuts. I was like, nah, I'm backing out of this. I'm sorry. I was already like burning a little bit. I was like, that's not the reason I came to Barcelona. So I was like, I'm going to start on my own. Like, I'm sorry. Like, obviously had a peaceful transition. I helped as much as I could, right? I never like to just leave people to their thing when I've been involved for a while, obviously like having a good transition. But then I started my own thing. And I initially started as a lead gen agency. I was like, let me leverage Clay and all these things to, bring leads to these companies. Eventually, I did that for like 6 months. And eventually I learned that that's not the thing that I like the most because I learned how the lead gen agency's model works. And that's just not for me.
Let's spill the beans to our audience. Like, what are some, lead gen agency insider things you learned that would shock most people about how that business works?
So full disclaimer, it's not like good or bad. Like it's just, it's just business. It's how it is, right? And it's how these agencies operate. There's people that know a lot more than me in certain things. So, it would be good to know what they say as well. But essentially how these companies operate is they know that some clients will just not have results. That's just how it is. Like when you're sending cold emails, there's just a lot of things that don't depend on you. Even if you have like a killer copy, killer infrastructure, like everything's perfect, if the client's offer is really bad, it's just not going to work. Like if the client doesn't post content on LinkedIn, YouTube, all that, it's going to be a lot harder to get traction, right? Because everything's linked, right? When someone receives your cold email nowadays, they check you out. They see who's this person, they Google you, they search you on LinkedIn, they search you on YouTube, all that, right? If you have nothing, if you're a ghost, the likelihood they'll reply is a lot less, even if you've got like killer copy, right? So if 2 people are competing and one has amazing copy and the other one has really bad copy, but the one with the really bad copy has an amazing brand behind it, right? Like Apple, I mean, they're going to reply like a lot more than if you have like a, nobody knows it kind of type of brand. So out of 10, basically 3 clients end up working. And obviously over time, agencies learn how to qualify better, how to do all these things better. So, more and more of their clients have success. But essentially the way lead gen agencies work is they already know that what percentage of clients is going to be successful and not. So the average usually is like 3 out of 10 are going to have killer results. About 3 or 4 of those, are going to have, average results, like not life-changing. It's not worth it sometimes for them to work with that agency. And the rest are just not going to have any results. To know that off the bat, 30 or 40% of my clients are not going to have results, that to me is really hard. And that's why I decided to change my model. That's literally the whole reason why I changed my model. Because I was having those a little bit better than those numbers, but more or less those numbers with my clients where some of them were just not having results. And I was beating myself up for it and all that. And I learned, oh, that's how it works. Am I happy with that? Am I happy? Can I accept that part? And I was like, well, yes, but that's not how I would like to work. So let me just do something else. And instead, I built a consultancy company where we implement these systems basically and a lot of other things to save all the manual labor for revenue teams essentially. Either if it works or not now, it doesn't depend on like circumstances anymore because what we do is like automations. What we do is like optimizing the revenue teams and all that. So it doesn't depend on like how good the offer is. We say that to the clients like, hey, your offer needs to be this, this, and this, so your revenue teams can have better success. But also, we work only now with companies that are already having success. So we don't fall into the trap of like some clients are just not going to have success, basically. So obviously, with companies, there's, some clients are just never going to work. It's just like the reality of companies. Nothing's ever perfect, right, in business. But I try to minimize that as much as possible and tell people upfront, not kind of hide that fact to people and be like, yes, it's going to be amazing. It's going to work. You're going to get tons of results when that's not always the case. I like to be very upfront. It might be harder to sell for me and might be making my life harder, but I just like that kind of honesty upfront because I like long-term relationships with people,
Sure.
not, having a client 3 months, it turns like that's a nightmare for me. And it really kills me if that ever
For
happens.
sure. Yeah, I mean, I think both of our businesses, like the Conversion Architects and Paired, are similar in this way, where we are in industries that have a lot of what you just described, right? Like offering services, even when the service provider might know that it's not the best fit or you're not going to end up getting results. And having said that, I'll be honest, I thought that you would share something more controversial because also that like, about 30% of our clients don't end up getting results because, their content systems, because they don't close, because their offer, because da da da. I also feel like they're just kind of everywhere in today's market.
Yeah.
With like almost any service you take on, you still got to pull your weight. There's like so few businesses out there that can just guarantee results for you, right? Like ultimately, nobody can really do it for you. People can just make it easier.
Yeah, I guess the juiciness of that is that some agencies, knowing that fact, they don't disclose that. So
Right.
that's kind of the juiciness of it, I guess, that you were
Makes
maybe looking
sense.
for.
Yeah, man. Thanks for sharing that. That's good to know. And now, moving on, I'm a little bit curious more about how you built up your team. How many are you guys right now at Conversion Architects? And yeah, just tell me a little bit more about the team and how you guys are running things right now.
Yeah, for sure, man. So right now we are 3 full-timers, 2 part-timers, and then 2 that come and go depending on how much volume we've got. So we're like 7 right now in the whole team, basically. And the way I built that it was just me at the beginning going through everything and, doing like lead gen, sales, fulfillment, customers, everything, man. And that was, that was really hard. The one thing, I mean, my girlfriend knows more than anyone, but if I would have known how difficult it was to start something before I ever started it. I'm not sure. I mean, some people say, yeah, you would have done it anyway, but I'm not sure I would have. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know what I would have done, but maybe I would have not done it. It's just so hard to do everything when you're especially by yourself, man. That was like usually the first 6 months to a year, if not longer for some people. It's brutal, man. It's brutal. Like, you have no one to talk to when things go wrong. You have no one to talk to, to celebrate, talk with to celebrate things. And everything relies on you, man. It's really hard. So the way I started building my team was I had a project and it helped. So I was like, let me find someone. So I kind of interviewed. I knew it was a numbers game because I've done it before. I've recruited before. I wanted people to send me a Loom video. I wanted people to send me like complete a certain task, before I even considered speaking to them. I went through a lot of these, like tens and tens and tens of applications. Then I just went with gut feeling, only because I have already done it before. I know who's going to be good and not. I'm looking for soft skills. I mean, I'm working with like Clay, tools like N8N, Make, and things like that, where yes, you do need the hard skills, but man, end of the day, someone's really smart, they can learn it, relatively fast. I'm not saying like you can learn it in a month, but it's not going to take you like a year if you're doing
Sure.
it full time.
Sure.
But what's going to be really hard is the values. Like, that's what I'm looking for. How, do you react under pressure? Do you accept the blame or do you kind of like push it over to someone else? Do you like helping your teammates? Are you resourceful when like, you don't have like a lot of, tools or like a budget at your disposal? How do you react when a client's like really angry, right? Do you set the boundaries appropriately? Do you message on weekends? Do you not? Do you respect people's times? These things are very important to me. And that's part of the culture that I'm trying to build as well. It's not just, hiring someone, doing a role, and that's it. Especially because I'm a remote first team. it's really hard for people to really connect otherwise. If someone's just there for the task, they are mercenaries and they don't really believe in the mission and what you're trying to do. And they don't feel like they belong anywhere. So if you only have like mercenaries in your team, don't be surprised when tomorrow they're just going to leave for a better pay somewhere else.
Yeah, man, that's a great insight. How do you make sure to hire not mercenaries, but like true loyal team members? What's your way of screening for that or establishing that kind of culture?
Man, that's super hard before. Like in the past, when I hired first, years ago, I didn't know anything and it was really hard for me to identify the good ones from the bad ones. And now it's still hard. It's just a matter of like qualifying really fast, right? Telling people like how we are really fast. And if they don't like it, they can go. And it might seem like a bit extreme for some people, but to me, that's super important. Like, hey, are you vibing with this or are you not? Totally fine if you're not, but I want to know now. If someone has a problem, I want to help them and I want everyone to help that person in the team. Like, if you don't like helping others, totally cool. Like, you can work on your own with things, but don't come here, right? That's how I quickly screen people. And the one thing that's really important for me is that everything that I do, because I'm like at the leadership in the company now, I can not only say things, I gotta act. Like, I gotta show by example. I gotta lead by example, right? I gotta show people, how to be in the company, right? If I say, I want you to be resourceful, but then, I only have like X amount of budget for a tool and I don't have any other alternative, whatever, what do I do, right? Or if I tell people, I want you to be calm in front of clients, but a teammate sees me like, like panicking in front of a client all the time, then they're gonna be like, okay, it doesn't really add up. So I'm just gonna do the same as he does, right? So it's kind of like being there every day. That's what counts. Like being there when things go bad, especially when someone's stressing, when you've got like a deadline in like 4 days, the person's burning out and being able to be like, hey, don't worry, just take a rest. Doesn't matter if we miss this deadline, just take a rest. Like you're more important than the deadline, right? Like that's super hard. And that's something that to me, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, I'm trying to fix that in a way. It's been really hard because for me, my words like the most important thing. If I tell a client this is going to happen that day, it has to happen that day, right?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, my team's like, I want them to be with me for the long term, right? If they burn out to have a client, make a client happy, it's not worth it, right? For me, my teams is like super, super important. Like if they're like, don't feel like I got their back in like, a month or two, they're just going to disappear. So that doesn't work for
Hmm.
me. That's kind of my philosophy with all this.
Actually, I don't think we've ever had someone on this so far short-lived podcast talk about how important it is to prioritize your team's well-being over, let's say, delivering results for your client, which I think is so key because clients come and go, right? You could say team members, but I really hope that your team churn rate is lower than your client churn rate. It's like a team member is going to generate so much more value than a single client at the end of the day. And also, what is a business at the end of the day if not just a group of people?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. On the other hand, as well, right? You're gonna have some people that are gonna try to take advantage of that. That are gonna be, oh, this guy's like that, so let me just, say I'm stressed all the time to, so you gotta know how to, set the boundaries as well, how to have the hard conversations, right? Like you understanding them doesn't mean you're like, soft. It doesn't mean that you don't know, when to say to someone like that's enough or that doesn't work for me, right? So it's like kind of juggling both ends at the same time in a way.
Yeah, makes total sense, man. So, what are the things that you do to establish that team culture? So, you mentioned going for soft skills instead of hard skills. You mentioned this about prioritizing the team members over even client results, which counterintuitively I think can be great. What do you do? Like, do you do, weekly sync ups with the whole team? Do you do send your favorite meme Friday? Like, what do you guys do to nurture that culture?
We do the bi-weeklies like syncs. So we don't do weekly syncs. We do bi-weekly syncs when we have more things to tell each other. We're chatting almost every day. Also, something that's very important for me is when like nothing's working. And that's like more of a daily thing. It's more a routinely thing rather than like, oh, do this in that day. Like there's no schedule for when to do this, but I like doing it, which is like when everyone's under a lot of pressure, right? And nothing's working, just laughing. and I do it a lot. Like, on calls and like my team members do it and they send me memes and all that, right? Just like making fun of like the fact that just nothing's working now, like whatever. It's kind of like dancing in the rain a little bit, right? It really helps kind of like lower the stress a lot, being like, oh, at the end of the day, nothing really matters. Like, in 100 years, nothing's gonna matter. Like, who cares, right? Like,
Yeah,
so kind of laughing a little bit, that really helps a lot, man. Like, kind of
for sure.
taking the stress, taking the pressure out, right? And then also makes people feel the emotions, right? It makes people like feel like they belong to the group, which is super important. Like feeling like they belong to your tribe from the get-go is very important, which when I was working for Salesloft in London, they knew how to do this really well. I took most of the things I know now from them and the way they manage teams.
Absolutely, man. And so that 7-person team, I think you said, where are people from?
Everywhere. We've got my head of sales now. He's Scottish, but he's been in Barcelona for the past 17 years now. So I mean, I don't know if Scottish or Spanish anymore. We've got people from India, we've got people from Pakistan, we've got people from the Philippines. So we hired a lot of these people as well, like people from like these countries, because I've realized at the beginning, obviously, it was like also like cheaper than to hire someone from here, but also they are hardworking, man. Like they go after it, like they want to create a great life for themselves, right? And I feel like people more like in the West, I don't know about the US, man, but especially in Europe, I've noticed, especially in Southern Europe, that they're just very used to the good life. They're very used to, oh, it's time for my cigarette. It's time for my coffee. Now it's time to chill, to like not do that. Right. And while I do think that it's good to like know when to chill and like be present in like you chilling, it's also good to know when to work and be present in you working, right? And work hard. It's important. And I think it not only builds character, but like it makes you happy, man. Like when you are working hard, something that's really hard and you fix it and you solve it, it feels so good and so rewarding that that's kind of like what it's all about, to be fair. And I feel like people from these countries know how to do, like they know that better than people, especially in Europe. That's what I'm seeing lately. That's not to say there's not great talent in Europe, that there's not people that wanna do like great stuff in here. It's just that from my personal experience, overall, that's what I found in here.
For sure. I mean, I actually hear that a lot, both from European and US companies. I think it's a bit of a cliche, if you will, like, today's kids don't want to work. But there's something to it because I keep hearing more and more about it. And I've seen a tendency where, like, the more developed the country is, the more quote unquote spoiled the talent is or the workforce is, right? So, for example, Hungary, where I'm from, is a little bit less developed than Spain, let's say. And so I've seen that talent from that region of the world, Hungary, Romania, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Croatia, they tend to have, I'm generalizing here, bigger drive to succeed, right? And then let's say you go to a country like Indonesia. I actually never been there, so I don't know how much more or less developed it is than Hungary. But let's say it's more east, right? It's further from your typical, US, Europe, Western nations. And for example, their work ethic is like even above that like Central Eastern European work ethic. So I find that really interesting. And I'm really wondering if we are kind of coming into this age where like if you want to not only survive and get by, but you want to thrive and you have like ambitious goals in the West, then you basically have to become an entrepreneur, right? Like we're just going to be countries of entrepreneurs online and offline, and we're going to be leveraging a combination of AI and remote talent. One, because you have the opportunity to do so, and it's easier than ever, but also because, like you said, you don't really have another choice, right? Let's say you want to, I mean, this is a typical like Spanish example because the real estate prices here are crazy, right? For the locals, like it is in many parts of the world. And so like, if you want to buy your own home, you basically you have to run your own business, right? This is not really, it's like you almost don't have a choice unless you want to settle for like a studio apartment in like a terrible neighborhood or something.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like in here, like here are the two paths, right? If you want to have a good life, it's go for like a corporate job where, like you're gonna sacrifice like a lot of years of your life. And I'm not saying that's wrong, by the way. Like there's a lot of people that love that. And sometimes I wish I could love that because it would be easier.
Will be easier, yeah.
And then just get promotion. Like you get higher salaries. At some point, you're making maybe like 100K, 120K. you get like obviously like, almost half of your salary gone, but then you're living on like 50, 60K in Spain, having a very good life then. Like, to be fair, you don't need more here to have a good life,
Fair.
or just do what I'm doing, right? Like what I'm doing is like more in the extremes. Some people would argue. I would say it's like less risky than what other people are doing, because when you're employed, you're depending on one company, right? That's your main client.
Yeah.
If the client like quits, if the client churns, like basically fires you, you're cooked. Like that's it, right?
Yeah.
When you have a company, you're depending on many clients. So if one churns, it sucks. Yeah, it's not great, but you've got other ones still to support you, right? So, I
Exactly.
mean, it depends on how people see this risk factor. But yeah, for sure, man. I feel like it's going to be more, people starting their own thing, lean teams, AI, and these tools to take care of the grunt work. That's why we do what we do at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
then, like outsized returns for the ones that do great. And then fair returns for like all the rest, which, end of the day, man, like even if you're a freelancer, you want to grow more than that, right? Like you have like 2 clients at like 3 grand each, like you're making 6 grand. If you deliver everything and you're working like 6, 7 hours a day, I mean, you're chilling, like especially in countries like Spain. So it's not like, either, corporate or like make it huge, with a company. It's more about like, what do you want? What are you willing to sacrifice to get that? And then just go for it and not look at other people's, right? Like not what others have. And that's something that's really hard for me. It's been really hard to learn this. But now when I see someone have like a super fit body, I'm like, okay, that's awesome. But what did that person sacrifice to get that, right? That person's probably not having beers all the time like I'm having. That person's not probably having all the food they want to eat. It's not having as much ice cream as I'm having, right? On the other hand, I am fit, and obviously I'm sacrificing, for example, not wanting to go to the gym some days when I don't feel like it, but I have to anyway. It's kind of a balance where of what are you looking to sacrifice to get what you want? And
Sure.
yeah, I feel like that's where people should focus instead of because nowadays with social media, man, like you see so much stuff and it's crazy. It's not reality.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. And so let's talk about your hiring nightmares, man. Let's talk about like the fun stories of the worst experiences you've ever had hiring.
I had a really bad one where I hired someone. I'm not gonna say nationality nor gender because I don't want people to be like, oh, this person, that person, But I hired someone. I take a lot of pride in coaching people well and seeing them succeed. Like I really love teaching and I really love like developing people as much as I do to myself as well. And at that point, I was in London, like developing the sales team, and I hired all types of people, like someone that was a bartender, someone that was like a taxi driver, like everything. Like it didn't matter as long as you had soft skills and the I want to learn kind of attitude. I would hire that person and develop them. I developed this person that was amazing, and then continued to improve week over week. But then I think like 3 months in, I realized that person was actually kind of cheating and counting commissions that were not due, and changing things in the CRM that weren't supposed to be changed. To be fair, it was on us as well because we gave that person permission when we shouldn't have. But still, that kind of like really hurt me, man. Like that was like I gave you a lot of trust, I gave you a lot of energy. I felt like great, like seeing you succeed and like getting more commissions and getting more money and like seeing that you're doing well. You've been cheating all along. So I had to fire that person. It was really nasty. It was not nice. So I wouldn't want to repeat that one. And like looking back, there were some signs of like little character nuances that I could have picked up that I didn't, or maybe decided not to. But yeah, that was a really bad one, man.
This is one of our favorite topics because a lot of people, when they consider hiring a recruiter like Paired, or they just considering going out there and finding new talent, one of their biggest fear is I'm not going to spot someone and they are going to damage my business somehow, either just not be a good hire and then cost us a lot in opportunities, or lose us clients, or damage our reputation, or even worse off, maybe they're going to steal our leads. Maybe they're going to, do something that goes against our privacy terms or stuff like that, right? Yeah. What were those red flags that you could have picked up on, but you didn't?
It's like the little daily things that one person does that you kind of ignore for a bit and then you cannot ignore anymore.
Yeah.
At that point, I did ignore them, which was my bad, to be fair. First one is when something goes wrong, always excuses. Always like, oh, but this happened, but that happened, by whatever, right? I've seen that the best people are like, oh shit, what can I do better next time? Like, where did I drop the ball? How can I not let this happen again, right?
Yeah.
And then the managers are not stupid. Like they know, they can see everything. If the person comes to me like, where did they drop the ball kind of thing, I'm gonna be like, here, this was your fault. This wasn't. This is how you can, make sure this doesn't happen again. Don't worry about this one. Don't stress because it wasn't your fault at all. Nothing you could have done. Maybe you could have done this other thing, even if it's not your fault, to fix it faster, but that's about it, right? Like it helps everyone kind of like get to a solution faster. The other one was like arriving late. So at that job, we did have kind of like strict schedules. So like you have to come. I don't fully agree with this, to be fair, but I wasn't the CEO of that company. So I had to comply with that. And a person would arrive late, several excuses, right? Another one day that person arrived late with a fine, because that person didn't pay for the tube fare, right? And they got a fine, right? They were making so much more money than like the tube fare. So like they weren't like struggling, Why would you not pay that when it's like a tap of like a card in London? Why would you not do that? That kind of tells me a lot about someone's character, right? It's like, let me try to cheat the system in a way. Let me try to not do that, right? So it's like little things that this person does that tells you how their character really is.
Yeah, I think that's a great insight, man. And what was your lesson or takeaway from that to do differently moving forward?
I should have fired faster. Like, I think it's good to like be super, understanding with people, like be like a nice type of person, like so to develop them in a positive way, in a positive reinforcement kind of like model, and not like a punishment reinforcement model. At the same time, man, if someone's either not good enough for the job, or sometimes it happens, that person's just not gonna be good enough, or that person's character doesn't go with the vibe of the company, you gotta fire immediately. And something I learned from like a boss at one of these companies I worked for, which was a great learning that he gave me, was once you know a decision, like once you know what must be done, the more you delay it, the more it's hurting the business. Like there's no point in delaying that. Like, this has to be done eventually. It's like, it's like if like you gotta break up with your partner or something, right? Like in the back of your head, that, but you keep delaying that, like, oh, maybe, it's going to end up happening anyway, just 3 years down the line. It's just going to be way worse. So just get on with it now, go through the rough patch now, and then you'll be, in a much better shape in like a month or two from now, right? But if you don't do it, you're going to be stuck there forever. So just firing fast, it's something that's still hard for me, man. But I know I gotta do that.
Yeah, man, I completely agree. And we actually hear this very often. This might come across sounding a bit bad, but don't treat your team members as if they were your best friends. This is business, and you're building a group of people not to be buddy and play board games on Friday nights, but to run a business and build the right culture. So I completely agree with you. And what about your hiring fairy tale, man? So what was your best experience you've ever had with, onboarding a team member or delegating something?
And I would say happened. I had many, but like the most recent ones happened with like my current company, where it happened for team members and also for kind of like my head of sales now. So for team members, I hired someone to do a job, and then they were like a lot better than I thought they were going to be. And then they ended up helping me like a ton, with like some clients, like a ton more than I expected. And, getting the job done in the weekends and all that, when I said it's not necessary, but they wanted to solve the problem, right? So that was amazing for me, man. Like that happens, once in a while only.
Yeah.
And then now also like my head of sales, I kind of hired him. I mean, I was prospecting him at the beginning because I thought he could be a client of mine. But then he said he had left the current job like, some time ago, and he just didn't update his LinkedIn. And let's speak, right? So we had a chat, and he really liked the project and all that. And he said, I'm on board. Like, let's do this. I'm going to help you and all that, right? Which was awesome, man. Like, he's been working for like some months now. He's really helped like develop a better offer, a better sales process, like a lot of the stuff, man. And he's with me for like the long term, I feel like. Maybe like in 2 months, I'm going to be like, no, it didn't happen. But no, hopefully he's going to be here for the long term. He's really helped me with a lot. What's most important, he took a huge salary cut, like a huge one, to be able to, because he was country manager, director of sales before. So that kind of money, like it's over 100K for sure, these people make. And he was like, I'm going to take a huge salary cut with you to invest in the project, right? And that feels like I'm not alone anymore, which is great. Like it feels like a blessing, to be fair. And I did not expect that. So that's kind of a hiring, blessing, I would say, where this came out of nowhere. And I was in a place where I really needed someone to support me in that way. You can call it like the universe, law of attraction, or whatever you want to call it. but it just came to me, man. And it was great. Like the opportunity came to me, it presented itself, and I was like, let me take it, let me just be grateful and just keep building, man.
Love to hear that, man. That's awesome. And I hope that, after leaving his fixed salary behind, hopefully he's running up a check at your organization now.
Yeah, man, for sure. Like it's the opportunity is so much bigger than like, before. Because before you then have like just the salary, right? That's a comfortable position, right? But then
Yeah.
if you join like a project like mine, the opportunity size is insane, right? Obviously there's more risk, but then if things go well, you make a lot more money and then on your own terms. It's not like someone dictating how you do things anymore. It's like you do your own thing, which feels like so much better, right? Like 1 grand like earned by doing your own thing feels so much better than just like 1 grand earned by doing someone else's thing.
Absolutely. More risk, more reward. Cool, man. And what were the green flags that you can share with people? If somebody's looking for their like unicorn hire, just like you're a
Hmm.
salesperson, director of sales, what are the things to look out for?
So it's some things that I did wrong in the past, which are like to not look for, and also like the reverse of that is like what to look for. So something I used to do when I was honestly a kid, like I was like 20, 21, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur and all that, right? I would just lay out all the terms and conditions, all the contracts, all that with people, right? And nothing ever would get done. Like nothing ever got done with any of these projects where I kind of like was like, oh, but I have 50% of the company, you have 60, whatever. There was nothing there. Right? There was no company. Super green flag for me is when someone comes to me and instead of being like, I want 10, I want 15, or I want this, I want that, they're like, they just build it and see what happens, right? Obviously, they're not stupid, they protect themselves, but man, let's just not waste time here discussing this thing, who owns what, whatever, when there's nothing now. Let's just build something meaningful and then we can discuss, who owns what, who deserves what, whatever, right? And it kind of builds a culture of like mutual respect. And when you do build that thing, you kind of want to give it to that person because you feel like they've earned it. And
Yeah.
like, why not, right? So that's kind of a huge green flag, man. Someone that starts doing without like so much, talking and like, saying that they're going to do this and that and whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's like just doing it and delivering from day one. That's like a super green flag.
100%, man. I couldn't agree more. As someone who originally comes from a sales background as well, the way it goes being a remote salesperson slash account manager slash whatever is that when people want to hire you, recruit you, they're also selling you the opportunity, right? So like if you've got a good resume and I've been in this field for almost 10 years now, so I have a pretty good resume, they will try to sell you the opportunity and they will hype it up, right? They'll be like a little bit I don't want to say dishonest, but yeah, they will hype it up, right? And then you join and, let's say the promise was, yeah, you're just going to get your coffee in the morning, open your calendar and it's full of calls. You're just going to jump on close, log it in the CRM. That's it. And then, you actually start the job and you find out, oh, there's barely any calls. Oh, I actually have to do all this manual shit. Oh, they probably should have hired a conversion architects to automate some of this because it's really, none of the operations make sense. And this wasn't what was sold to me. But there's literally no way for you to know that until you come in and you try the opportunity. So I had a very similar approach exactly to what you described as a remote worker myself, as an independent contractor, an ex-founder myself. I would say also like, hey, let's get started. Let's get the first results in. Like, let's get your first sales. Let's get your first result. And then we actually have something to talk about. If we're not able to get results together, then what is even the point of discussing all of the nitty gritty details, spending, weeks on how we're going to define the contract and whatever. So I think that's such a cool approach, man.
100%, man. Like it's more doing, less talking. Everyone's like fucking talking nowadays. They just like say, like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Man, I spent my whole uni years talking. I spent so much time from 18. I mean, I did a lot of stuff still, right? Compared to like, I've seen other people like talking a lot more than I used to, but I could have done so much more if I just didn't talk and just did everything. I would just like meet up with friends, chill for a bit, and then be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And then nothing ever gets done. And it's like, okay, like 5 years later, you're in the same position, right? So it's just like getting on with it, doing it, and then you identify who's great, right? And the opportunities are going to come. That's what I think people are afraid. Like, what if I do and then they steal my work? What if I do and then they take? But it's like, if you're great, they're going to come for you. They're not going to steal your stuff. They're going to want you on board, right? Like if you're awesome, it's like they're going to want more of that awesomeness. So don't be afraid of just like doing some stuff, like getting stuff done.
Yes.
And then, making great things happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. Be an action taker and work with action takers, I think is the best way to put it.
100%, man.
Awesome, Oriol. Well, thanks so much for coming on the pod, man. And for those of you listening that want to check out some offshore remote candidates for your own business, check out pair.so. We can place candidates for your company within 21 days or less. We do a successful placement, or you don't pay us a cent. And yeah, give it a shot and see if we got the candidates that you're looking for. Oriol, where can people find you guys and what you do?
Theconversionarchitects.com or my name on LinkedIn, Oriol Serra. I'm also there. Also on YouTube, same name, Oriol Serra, theconversionarchitects.com. They probably find me, man. I always have like that burgundy kind of sweatshirt, like turtleneck on all my pictures. Maybe I'll change it in a while, but I like to have the same picture everywhere. So they'll probably find me easy.
Yeah, we'll link those in the description. Great talk, man. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks so much, man. Have a good one. Take care.